Hello, folks. Little time for comedy. The guy that's been commenting made another comment. I have got my orange juice. If you have any liquids, I suggest you only drink them when I'm drinking. Otherwise, I will not be responsible for any ruined keyboards or screens. Okay? Last chance. Okay. So, yes. So, I wake up this morning and there's 4 comments on the video. Then I noticed later that it actually says that there's supposed to be 5 comments. Go to my email, and yes, it looks like one of the comments by Stan Livingston, Longsword Shinobi, has been deleted. But as he told me last time, what's written on the internet is there forever. Okay. So, here is his latest response. Ha ha ha. So you got a laugh out of your 3 fanboys on here. You keep stoking a fire, you eventually gonna get burned. I had actually communicated with Ron, and he was gonna let all of the crap you have started in the past stay in the past. But after this little video of you trying to make Ron and myself the butt of your jokes, it might not be that easy. I will talk with him again on Sunday. Providing that you post another video apologizing not only to Ron but to myself as well, saying that you are sorry and you may not have had 100% proof on any of the information you have told about him or myself, and you will leave Ron's and my names out of your future videos, I might be able to persuade him to forget about you and to move on constructively with his future life. Ron Collins. David Richardson. 2 people who are incompetent martial artists and cowards who could not get through a full term in the military and prey on vulnerable females. I blow my nose in your general direction, you unwashed wiper of other people's bottoms. In my opinion, he should never have lowered himself to your level in the first place. If you don't be a man and publicly apologize, then I can't guarantee what may happen. I'm not going to threaten you with anything. Neither will Ron. Just don't be surprised with an unannounced confrontation in the near future. As an aside, I had an unannounced confrontation with Ron in the past, and well, he kind of went home with his tail between his legs. And David Richardson has basically avoided facing any of his critics like Dale Dugas or myself, preferring to stay behind the keyboards. Anyways, let's continue on. Unlike you, we are trying to act like grown men. Ron already has a very high-level, high-paying job waiting on him when he gets out. So we would rather for you to do the right thing and apologize than move on with your pathetic little life. If the video is not posted before Saturday night, then the deal is off the table. Okay, so what we have here is basically a comment confirming that they are David Richardson, or so they claim to be. You know, they're talking about myself. In the last video I only talked about Ron Collins and David Richardson. So he's talking about the jokes I made about Ron and myself. Well, that seems to be saying it. And despite what he's saying, I'm not going to threaten you. Yeah, it's a threat. Is this actual confirmation that is David Richardson? Well, maybe not. There are, when you do what I do, I have sent people that rape children to prison. Okay? Those types of folks tend to be very vengeful and obsessed. And yeah, some of them have way too much time on their hands. When you expose frauds or anything like that, you're just going to get them. And honestly, I am the front man and kind of coordinator of a few efforts just because A, I've got the reputation already, and 2, I kind of live far away from the West and East Coasts where most of this crap goes on. There's just more people, in California, more people on the New York to Washington and to Florida, that the people that are actually doing the jobs uh, don't want their names, if they live close to the people that do this type of things, rape kids. But yeah, you get some enemies. One enemy that I have is he's called Dallas Whitkenfeld. Um, he's not involved with martial arts. His only crime is alcoholism. I mean, he's gotten popped for trying to fly a plane while drunk. He teamed up with Frank Dukes, who they're both on the same stolen valor site, exposing their false military claims. And yeah, he's a rather obsessive guy. He's got restraining orders and uh, convictions for breaking those restraining orders, things like that. I mean, and he drinks, and he drinks. And again, he's up there in age. He's retired, so he's got time on his hands to do all these things. The only on one hand, this response has got less um, spelling mistakes and things like that than the prior version, which might mean that there's actually two people commenting, and I can very much believe that Dallas Witkenfeld would write something like this, which would put the finger on David Richardson and have to do with the FBI. Because when you deal with these folks, they'll go after the same enemy together, but they won't take a bullet for them, and they'll throw people under the bus. I mean, they're throwing Ron under the bus here. I mean, we're making Ron the butt of our jokes and all that because, well, he deserves it. Everything we're saying is true, but they don't really care about Ron, despite what they say about being his friend and trying to protect him. It's just about attacking me. Dallas Wickenfeld uses the N-word, and David Richardson is black. So yeah, I can really believe if it's two people signing onto the same account, and one person wrote something that would point the finger at David Richardson, and when David Richardson got on and saw it, he deleted it, which would explain things. But again, that's only my speculation at this point. Um, for one thing, Dallas, David Richardson also does this, but Dallas Witkenfeld really seems to stress the fact that accusing people of being a homosexual. I mean, it's homosexual this, homosexual that. Somebody once said that on his website they're attacking people. The images that he puts up there, you really have to wonder about his web history. I mean, what kind of cookies does he have? But they're obsessed about homosexual, and there haven't been a comment about me being a homosexual yet. And just as an aside, I don't really understand the whole thing about calling someone homosexual as an insult. I mean, I'm not gay, but I don't really see anything wrong with being gay. I've known people that are quite better and more of a man than Dallas Witkenfeld or David Richardson, who are gay, because we're all the same people, and they're not drunks or people leeching off the government. So I just don't understand why people use the term homosexual, gay, whatever as a insult, or why they try to do it with me. I mean, seriously, me, homosexual. Take a look at these shoes, okay? Anyways, another possible contender is a guy who's using the name Sojiro Hatake. Obviously, not his real name. He's hiding his name. He got into this rant and said, I'm ducking him. I basically, okay, first weekend of September, in a few weeks, about 6. I'll set aside things. You want to come out, challenge me, we can meet at a place called Dirty Women's Park, go to the location, and we'll go at it. And of course, no. I've got to come to him, or I'm a coward, drop everything. And he tried to say that his name was J.O. out of Brooklyn. He made a mistake, and I wrote about this otherwise. And it turns out his name is Joe Ortiz, and he's in Pennsylvania. So yeah, so he was trying to get me to go off to New York, and look for somebody else. And there actually is a guy named J.O. in Brooklyn. He was trying to set me up like that. But the guy, yeah, is pretty obsessed. He's, has a history, from what we can tell, he has a history of mental problems, spousal abuse, drug problems. He's a home study video course of the IBDA, which stands for International Bunjinkan Dojo Association, run by a guy named Richard Van Donk. Despite the use of the Bunjinkan name, it is not the same as the Bunjinkan in Japan, which I belong to. Um, Richard Von Donk was a member of the Bunjinkan, but when the head of the Bunjinkan, Soke Hatsumi Masaaki, turned the leadership over to the next generation, Richard Von Donk announced that he was just as good as any of the trained successors for Hatsumi Sensei, and he would not be following them, which is kind of like when Jeff Bezos stepped down from Amazon. If someone says, "I'm not going to follow the new CIO," well, you're not part of Amazon. So yeah, he's issuing his own certificates. He's got his own rank. He's got his own patches, and from the looks of things, no training is going on right now because of the pandemic. But once that restriction lifts, we've been told not to allow people from groups that used to be part of the Bunjikan and broke off, to train with them. It used to be like Genbukan, Jinenkan, and Toshindo under Stephen Hayes. Now, well, IBDA is one of those organizations, so I don't think that anyone that trains with the IBDA will be welcome in training in Japan from the looks of things. And I've warned people, when he said that he wasn't going to follow the new Soke and he was just as good as them, that went over like a lead balloon in Japan, from what I hear. And try to warn people, and evidently Joe Ortiz is kind of mad about that. But anyways, another possible suspect is a guy named Vernon VanZile, who I did help send to prison for a while. He's out. He said, and again, the pattern. I mean, he set up all these fake accounts before we popped him. Some of them praised his school. Some of them attacked his, people that were friends with Ron, that were opponents of Ron. He was friends with Ron. They attacked the same people and stuff like that. So it kind of fits this thing. The amazing thing about that whole case was, I mean, he was a registered sex offender. He was category 3, and there's 3 levels from least likely to reoffend to most likely to reoffend, and he's category 3. All of his offenses involved children in some way, and we caught him. He didn't have his name on on his website or anything, but Ron made a mistake and used his real name, and we were able to piece things together. He actually had a marketing thing set for young girls. I mean, he even had a YouTube channel called MMA Girl, where his student, who looked like 8 or 9 years old, was doing things and trying to build up the business of getting them into his MMA studio out of his house. Despite all this, there was no law in New York State, where he lived, preventing him from doing so. The thing we nailed him on was the fact that he had to give his case officer, or whatever they would call it, as a condition of his release, before he set up any social media accounts or anything like that, he had to tell them about it, and he didn't. And again, he set up a lot of accounts to attack people and praise himself and all that, and that's what we nailed him on, and that's what he went to prison for a while. But he's out now, and obviously, I helped send him to prison, and so maybe it's him. I don't know. When you deal with these types of folks that rape children, or even just lie about their history with martial arts or the military, you get some pretty obsessed people. So yeah. But in any case, we've got a good laugh out of it. I know I have. I mean, this whole thing, boom, 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 boom. I bet they don't know the reference to that. But yeah, so I'll keep people up to date on this, and if you got some time and want to get a little chuckle, then please subscribe if you want and check things out. I'll keep people up to date, and I'm sure that we'll have plenty more laughs before this is done.